First at 9.
Good evening.
This is Weekend Primetime News. I'm Sonali Wanikabadage.
And tonight we cast our gaze over the Maldives, where Maldivians went to polls to elect a new president.
That's right, Madhushka. News First Ramesh Irugal Bandara is in Male. We'll be speaking to him later on in the news. But first, here's a look at tonight's headlines.
Headlines on News First at 9.
6 years of Labour rule in Australia comes to an end as Kevin Rudd concedes defeat to Tony Abbott. 341 complaints received relating to the violation of election laws. Shots fired at a supporter of a UPFA Central Provincial Council candidate in Peradeniya. Rains accompanied by strong winds to be experienced over the next 2 days.
News First at 9. This is News First, Election Headquarters.
The Election Secretariat says that it has received 341 complaints pertaining to the upcoming Northern, Northwestern and Central Provincial Council polls.
The Complaints Unit of the Election Secretariat says 305 complaints are regarding the violation of election laws.
A supporter of a UPFA candidate for the Central Provincial Council was shot in Eduduwa, Peradeniya in the early hours of this morning. The police say that the victim, 28-year-old Harshana Eranda, was shot en route to Provincial Council candidate Jagat Chandraratna's residence at about 3 a.m. today. The victim, who was injured in the shooting, was admitted to the Kandy Teaching Hospital. No arrests have been made in connection with the incident. The Peradeniya police are investigating the incident. Several parties are contesting the coming elections. I do not know who was responsible and why. It is a human life. I hope that no candidate has to experience something like this. A vehicle belonging to the chairman of the Pallepola Pradeshya Sabha in Mathale, Jagat Disanayaka, was set alight by an unidentified group at night the day before yesterday. The vehicle was set on fire after 10:30. Since I was to participate in an event organised for Honourable Minister Janaka Bandara Tennakoon to lay the foundation stone for a new shopping complex in Pallepola, I only saw that the vehicle had been set on fire as I was leaving in the morning. I lodged a complaint with the police, noting that the damage caused to the vehicle was about 150,000 rupees. At about 11 o'clock the same night, a suspicious vehicle had passed by at high speed. Meanwhile, the police say that 97 persons who violated election laws were arrested over the past several days. The police have received 100 complaints thus far regarding election-related incidents.
A tense situation arose at the Daladagama junction in Mahava this morning concerning election campaign decorations.
A group of United National Party supporters commenced a hunger strike this morning in protest of being allegedly obstructed by a group of UPFA supporters, including the chairman of the Mahava Pradeshya Sabha, from putting up decorations for a meeting held in Daladagama. Subsequently, a group including candidates from both parties for the Northwestern Provincial Council arrived at the location.
The roundabout belongs to the Pradeshya Sabha. That is why I attempted to decorate the Daladagama roundabout and the junction. We even brought bouses and watered the plants. Even when President Mahinda Rajapaksa came, I didn't allow them to hang blue flags.
The police intervened to remove campaign decorations in the town centre. However, UMP supporters protested against this move and removed several hoardings that had been put up around the clock tower at the town centre.
Now, political parties and candidates are frantically canvassing for votes, with provincial council polls for the North, Northwestern and Central provinces just 2 weeks away. Let's now take a look at some of the views being expressed on various political platforms.
This government has a long-term goal. As the government journeys on, roads are broadened, roads are developed and cities are developed. As the government keeps doing this, grudgingly even, the people continue to vote. The longer the government stays, the farther away the United National Party and the Janatha Vimukti Peramuna are. This is the situation today. The government, which is contesting under the symbol of the betel leaf, is aiming to gain popularity by inciting communalism and religious divisions in the south. The peace and development that the people of the north expected following the end of the war will not be given to the people of the north and the east. Our attempt is to bring forth new politicians who live among the people and are able to understand the problems of the people in the north and east. The United People's Freedom Alliance does not engage in politics and contest elections bearing bushels of promises. We contest after carrying out promises that were made. Our public representatives should know that when they receive a privilege, they must ensure that the people reap the benefits of that privilege. No matter how powerful they think they are, they cannot remain in politics. That is our political experience. We are public political representatives who stand up for the people of this country that are facing hardships. We are a political party that believes in equal rights for all communities. That is why we said that there needs to be a provincial council in the north. Some communalists in the south were opposed to this, but His Excellency the President has given you a provincial council. A society that can resolve the problems of the poor must be created. There is no solution devoid of that.
Up next is the newspaper cartoon of the day, handpicked from a selection of today's English newspapers.
On our primetime news bulletins last night, News First highlighted the possible vested interests behind certain individuals and an organization with regard to the recent controversy surrounding DCD found in milk. We noted that the same organization attempted to use our media network to place a malicious advertisement that would have spread misinformation about competitive dairy products and fear amongst consumers. The MTV-MBC media network rejected the airing of this advertisement not only because it was in clear contravention of accepted media ethics both locally and internationally, but also because it was directly flouting a directive issued by the Ministry of Health on the 17th of January 2013. In its communique, the Ministry of Health notes that all media networks should avoid publicizing advertisements contain false information and mislead the public. It also says that any commercial related to a food product must be in line with the Food Act number 26 of 1980 and the directives issued in 2000 on the labeling and advertising of food products. The Ministry directive goes on to cite the Food Act of 1980, stating that no person should label, package, sell or advertise in a manner that misleads, creates a wrong impression or contains false information about the nature, standard, consistency and quality of a certain food item. According to the Ministry communique, action will be taken against anyone found breaking these directives under the Food Act. Bearing this in mind, MTV-MBC as a responsible organization refused and rejected the airing of this advertisement. However, upon bringing this information to light in a news bulletin last night, the same organization immediately withdrew all their running commercials from our network. It is clear that this reaction on their part is perhaps because their failed plot was revealed. To put this incident into perspective, it would be pertinent to consider the contribution to milk production in Sri Lanka. With a total cow's milk production of approximately 600,000 litres per day, this particular company contributes around 8% of the total collections per day, with the other major operators collecting around 75%. Therefore, the benefits of orchestrating a contamination fear amongst the public to such an organization is obviously clear. Competition for business is accepted, but competition at the cost of the consumer can never be accepted. The results of the DCD contamination controversy is clear for all to see. A state of fear prevailed. Mass panic and hysteria gripped the market, and innocent parents were left terrified and destitute in their attempts to feed their children with milk. While individuals we highlighted in last evening's news bulletin serve to exacerbate this situation, their collective plot has now fallen apart. Nobody has a right to spread false, malicious information for their own narrow gains. These individuals are not qualified to comment on a matter of public nutrition, and the wrath of the public will be upon those who try and further their business interest at the expense of the very food families depend on. Let this plot that failed be an eye-opener to business and the public alike. Nobody can take the discerning consumer for a ride. These revelations will stop here, but if necessary, there will be much more revealed in time to come. News First will remain the eyes and ears of the public. Think it could be you next.
President Mahinda Rajapaksa paid homage to the sacred temple of the Tooth Relic in Kandy this morning.
After paying homage to the sacred temple of the Tooth Relic today, the President visited the chief prelate of the Malwada chapter of the Siam sect, the most venerable Tibbatuawe Sri Sumangala Thera. The President also visited the Manik Divela Viharya. The President also visited Venerable Dimbul Kumbure Vimala Dharma Thera and Venerable Nyanguda Vijita Siri Thera, the Anunayakas of the Malwata chapter. President Mahinda Rajapaksa also inspected the newly constructed gymnasium of the Bogambara Stadium today.
The Met Department warns that sea areas off the coast from Putlam to Mathura via Goa could be rough and dangerous from about 6 a.m. tomorrow.
The Met Department's Natural Disaster Warning Centre says that wind speeds could reach up to 70 kilometers per hour in these areas.
The Met Department is also forecasting rain in the western, southern, Sabaragamuwa, central, northern and northwestern provinces in the next 48 hours. The Met Department warns that certain areas could experience rainfall in excess of 150 millimeters. Wind speeds could also increase in southwestern parts of the island from about 6 a.m. tomorrow and off the southern and western coasts.
One spill gate of the Polgola Reservoir in Kandy has been opened as a result of the heavy rain. The water levels of the Mahavali River are rising as a result.
News First reporter
Reporter Vijay Siri Samarasekara from Nuvarelia says severe misty conditions have been experienced in the area since this morning.
Health authorities warned that rainy weather could cause a re-emergence of dengue. 35,395 dengue patients reported last year. Over 22,888 people have contracted dengue so far this year, Ministry of Health. Majority of patients reported from the Colombo district, Epidemiology Unit. Rainy weather experienced in many areas. You could be the next target of the dengue mosquito. Isn't it pertinent to exercise vigilance at this time?